Storm Issue 1 saw our weather witch save Oklahoma City from a mutant catastrophe, but she did so at the cost of her own health. Now plagued with radiation poisoning, Storm enters a race against time with only hours to live, in a world that grows increasingly cold towards mutants. But just because Storm is dying doesn't mean she gets time off. Issue 2 opens in Lagos, Nigeria. Storm has 24 hours left to live, and a group of pirates are looking to hijack a vessel. But little do they know, their fate lies above them in the skies. It's the sky that is her home, but its air has become grit in her lungs. Storm is dying, yet she continues to save lives. Then again, many times, to save lives, one must first punish evil. Storm descends upon the pirates with all of the fury of a 3rd degree black belt and a category 5 typhoon, all wrapped into one, dispatching with the evil seafarers with haste. I don't know if she's ever done this move before, where she plants her feet and then ricochets off the person, calling down lightning to that location in the process, but damn. I don't think I can say anything that will do this move justice other than damn. Speaking of damn, we have to talk about her new all-white outfit. It looks much different than the outfit she wore at the end of issue 1 when she met with Eternity. That one was far more African divinity and mysticism. This is far more standard X-Men fare. It's like an upgraded Gold Team leader bodysuit with some adornments from her classic Weather Witch outfit. But damn if it doesn't work. This outfit is proof that sometimes the simplest option is the best option. Storm then boards the ship after her impressive display, entering a coughing fit that turns up blood. One of the crew members goes to fetch her a bag of water, but he's soon stopped by the captain, who is unwilling to extend aid or even gratitude to Storm. He asks her to immediately leave the vessel, in fear that she might accidentally ignite their fuel and cause the ship to go up in flames. He's seen the news about Oklahoma, and he doesn't want his crew to die at the hands of a mutant. Now, some people may read this page and go, that's unrealistic. That's irrational. Irrational? Yes. Unrealistic? No. People who live their lives by fear and bigotry often act irrationally. They didn't come to this position through logic, and logic will not get them out of this position. So here Storm is, opening the book by saving people, and she's thanked by immediately dealing with the same suspicions and bigotries that she was afraid of in issue 1. Suspicions and bigotries that she threw into high gear by telling the truth about the Oklahoma incident. It wasn't the fault of some alien tech gone wrong. It was a mutant teenager whose powers had emerged and were going awry. And so Storm is left alone, abandoned by the people she saved, and forced to deal with what may just be her last day in the realm of the living. But remember what I said, Storm doesn't get any time off just because she's dying. And so she spends her last day in her sanctuary, tending to her wildlife. Now, on one hand, I could criticize the choice to have Storm tending to animals when she has less than 12 hours to live, but I do think that that's very in character for her. She's always someone who puts others before herself until the absolute last minute. Her nurturing motherly qualities often come at great cost for her. And so it's not until she's in the shower with 10 hours to live and sees clumps of her own hair going down the drain that she decides to start tending to herself. Storm then travels to an unknown location in Arkansas, where she has to provide ID and proof of her Avengers membership in order to enter the premises. The gate is locked, and the doorman won't open it, but it doesn't matter. It's all an illusion. Enter the Night and Day Hospital for the extra mundane, where she's waited on by Dr. Day. Unlike the doorman, Dr. Day immediately recognizes Storm as an X-Man, which proves to be a big problem for Storm, because Dr. Day does not treat X-Men. Storm does not take kindly to the doctor's discrimination, especially after being booted off of a boat that she just saved. But the doctor makes it clear, his self-admitted discrimination is not against mutants, 80% of his patients are mutants, mutants who he treats for free. It's only X-Men who he doesn't treat. Storm demands to know the cause for this discrimination, an answer that the doctor readily provides. When he and Night Nurse started this hospital, Tony Stark was the first to cut a nice big check on behalf of the Avengers and ForceWorks. Doctor Strange also consults at the hospital on behalf of the Defenders. Reed Richards supplies medical equipment on behalf of the Fantastic Four, and Danny Rand has donated on behalf of the Heroes for Hire. Even Moon Knight, who's usually a cheapskate, chipped in. The only ones who didn't were the X-Men. This was during the Krakoa era, while mutant kind was living on the island of Krakoa, safe from the restrictions of mortality and death.
Ironic.
So what does Storm do with this information? She does the only thing she can do, and parts with her most prized possession, her mother's ruby, which she had been wearing in her neck rings up to this point. On one hand, this shows how desperate Storm really is, as this is the only physical possession she has to remember her mother by. But I think it's also showing that she's willing to assume responsibility and accountability for the sins and faults of the X-Men. Another point on Storm's leadership qualification chart. The doctor's prognosis isn't surprising, but it's still dreadful to hear. Storm has radiation syndrome, one that has no medical cure. But as the doctor previously stated, his connections run far deeper than the field of conventional medicine. He puts his diagnosis into a black envelope, one that bears red symbols on it, and then the envelope disappears in a black and red puff of smoke. Dr. Day just sent a referral letter to the real doctor who Storm will be seeing, one who is a former Sorcerer Supreme who specializes in dark magic. And after handing Storm his address, he tells her to get it in gear because she only has 6 hours left to live. With the haste of a hurricane, Storm takes to the skies in search of this mysterious doctor who is her last chance at survival. The universe is strange and filled with even stranger coincidences, especially when it's desperately trying to kill you. Hours ago, Storm soared high above Nigeria, the very nation known as the heart of dark magic, the powerful yet sinister form of magic that Storm needs to save her life. Many dark spells taught in the covens of witches and the dens of sorcerers can trace their origins to this nation. Of all these dark magical spells, there is one that is the most known, Ile. After the fulfillment of several conditions, the word Ile is uttered, and the victim of this spell plummets to their doom. For what soars must one day surely fall. And fall Ororo does, as a mystic orca appears in the sky and tail slaps her down to the surface of the earth. Not in Nigeria, but in Haiti, where a dark and cryptic voice speaks to Ororo. This voice knows that she seeks the assistance of a sorcerer. He calls her out as the descendant of Ashake, who shares blood with Agamotto, the first Sorcerer Supreme. He knows that Storm is unable to cast a simple defense spell, so he asks, what would she do if her mutant powers were taken away from her? The goddess must now prepare herself, for she is in the presence of the Gunner of Gods. This is the Hongan Supreme, the Shaman Unmatched. This is Dr. Voodoo, and he will be attending to Storm on this fine evening and her last chance. We're only in issue 2, and yet Murewa is already making good on his promises that he's been making across social media for the past few months, that this series would not just be standard fare for Storm, but we would really be diving deep into her mystical and divine roots. And you can't get much more mystical than Dr. Voodoo himself. We're used to seeing the likes of Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, and even Agatha Harkness as of late, which is something that has always been core to the world of Marvel. But now we're getting into the types of mysticism that emerge from the African continent and the African diaspora. From calling out Storm's own ancestors, one of whom recently just got her first visual appearance in Scarlet Witch, shout out to you, Aisha of Balabedo, to the use of terms like Hongan Supreme, Hongan being a Haitian word for a male voodoo priest. By the way, if you're lost on any terms or concepts that were introduced in this issue, don't worry, our man Murewa has us covered, as he breaks down these Yoruba and Haitian terms in the final page of the book. He goes into great detail to define all of these things, far better than I could, so I'll just tell you to read that page in full in order to fully understand all these different types of spells and concepts that he brought up in issue 2. Final takeaway from this issue, seeing Storm in dire straits is something that I cannot explain enough how much I appreciate, because it's only after being brought down that she can rise to newer heights. I'm also okay with the action being much more on the lighter side this go around. X-Men books have always had fantastic fight scenes and power displays, but that's never been the absolute core of these characters or the journeys they go on. At the end of the day, if we're not getting something that is emotional and compelling, I don't want it. And Murewa is proving to us that he is more than willing and able to bring Storm down as low as she needs to go. I mean, she literally got smacked out of the sky by a mystic orca's tail. You can't get much more humiliating than that. And with that being said, that's gonna wrap up this month's recap of Storm, issue number 2. What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? Were there any Easter eggs that I missed or dope moments that you think I didn't give enough justice to? Let me know in the comments below. And then y'all know what to do. Click this video right here to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, keep right on simping.